Welcome to Season 2, Episode 10 of the Inches and Cubes podcast, your Toronto-based Warhammer 40k podcast. We're coming at you from Adam's Nerd Room.
Woo!
And we'll be right back at you after this musical break. And we're back from a musical break.
Mm-hmm.
It's me, Point and Click Nick.
It's me, Paul Mr. Fist Fowler.
And me, Adam the Truest Axe.
And we're here tonight with a very special friend. I'm about to unleash the beast.
Open it up.
Yeah.
So we are once again sponsored by Henderson's.
Bless their hearts.
What's a Henderson's?
Henderson's is a local brewery that is very kind to us and has offered to sponsor us for this episode and the previous episode by providing us with our beer. We talked a lot about them last episode. Nick, the guy we talked to at the bar last night, because we were at Henderson's last night, because
why not?
We do. He listened to the podcast and he messaged me today and he was like, "I'm actually way more nerdy than you said I was."
Oh, did he just realize that now?
Because you talked about him on it.
I know. I got him to subscribe to the podcast last night.
Okay.
And last week we talked about him
on the episode.
Yeah, on the episode.
Right.
So wait. So he listened to the podcast and then realized how nerdy he was? That's really great.
No. Isn't what he said? He realized how nerdy he was, or he was like, "You undersold me. I'm way more nerdy."
Yeah, he undersold me.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like the idea that.
Oh,
yeah. He heard it and he was like, "Oh God."
I am a nerd. No.
I mean, he has like Elvish or like no. I think it's either the inscription on the One Ring, or it's
Which is Elvish.
yeah, or it's Dwarvish, like as a tattoo, because
Around
it's
his
like
arm?
angular runes. So I think it might be like "Speak friend and enter," or probably not. That's probably not a tattoo that he has.
Melon.
That's just a bad joke.
So Henderson's flagship beer is called Henderson's Best. And all they did was age it in some bourbon barrels, and they added an A, and now we have Henderson's Beast.
Hold on. Although he said all they did.
Yeah.
That's like quite a task. Aging in bourbon barrels is a very, very special moment in a beer's life. And you gotta wait on that. Like a normal beer, you can wait just a few weeks. Aging, how long do they do it? Did it say on it?
Well, I should probably read it. After 9 months hibernation in bourbon barrels,
9 months.
the Beast has emerged. It is big, malty, heady, and complex. It is a gentle beast, to be sure, but powerfully tasty. Henderson's Beast is our way of saying thank you to all of you who've helped making brewing beer for our city the best. It was funny. So I remember talking to the guys at Henderson's and a couple other craft breweries. They have trouble actually finding wine barrels and alcohol barrels. And when I was down in the States, in Florida, there was a small brewery, and they're like, "This is our barrel room where we age our beers." I'm like, "There must be like 100 barrels in here. Do you guys have any issues finding barrels?" And they're like, "No, we don't even pay for them. We just go to the distillery and take them."
Weird.
No wonder there are none. They're all getting stolen.
Yeah, this smells delicious.
Oh,
See, that's got a lot of walking around potential.
yep.
You know, you stick like a big load of this into a McDonald's cup, and just walk around Ren fairs, getting drunk, fighting old ladies.
It tastes like bourbon.
It's so smooth and sweet and delicious. Like, you expect a strong beer. 'Cause I don't think we read the percent, but this is something like
This is 11.
11,
Yeah,
which is ridiculously high. It's really hard to make a good tasting strong beer that high.
Yeah.
And these guys nail this one.
They gave me a bottle of this as I was leaving our Christmas party, because I was just like chatting them up, and they're like, "You're a funny guy and you're here a lot. Here's a bottle of Beast." I was like, "Cool." And then I went on a pub crawl, and then I drank that in a park after the pub crawl. Scene missing. I woke up in 2018.
So I had 2 of these at our Christmas party. Was it a Christmas party?
I don't know.
I can't remember. It must have been whenever that party was.
It was a Christmas party.
It was a Christmas party. And I had a hangover by 11 p.m.
Yeah, man.
that evening. Like, it's literally a beast.
Yeah, it's really tasty though.
It's very good. I'm quite enjoying it. So why are we here today, Paul?
Oh well, we're gonna talk about the crimes of Magnus the Red, because
You didn't do anything wrong.
now you say that, but he broke the entire Imperial Palace one time.
Oops.
Yep.
And and just had a bad father, man.
Yeah.
Bad upbringing.
Listen, once you get as old and
Hey,
big...
don't let him talk bad against our daddy.
I will. But what I'm going to say is,
Bad dad.
once you grow up and you're like, I don't know, a couple 100 years old, you're old enough to make your own decisions.
Did they ever really grow up, though?
No, they're an entire case of arrested development.
Yes, they all are.
Like,
They all totally are. So yeah, we're talking about the Thousand Sons, another cool faction, that new faction that's not new, but we've been waiting for a long time because
Yeah.
they've always kind of been rolled into Chaos Space Marines, and
they got their own book at the bottom of 7th. Came out with a new one fairly recently, just after Christmas, wasn't it?
Yep.
And not to a lot of fanfare, but it's a good book, and there's
it's cool stuff.
Yeah.
And we'll get into it, but as always, we have our hobby desk.
Yeah.
I'll start. I got nothing. It's been a busy week. Sorry, guys.
That's
Let
all
you
right.
down.
It's all right. How about you, Adam? What you got done?
I just did some fun stuff. I just built some terrain. You guys can see them over there.
Isn't building plastic kits fun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Especially terrain. It's like you can be less precise. You can just goof around. Like there's not a lot of pressure.
You're upsetting me right now.
I mean, I still removed every single mold line and still
Yeah.
built them nice. But
That's my guy.
There's just less stress about it.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, so yeah, I built the Pythos Outposts Pythos 4 stuff, like the weird alien Death World terrain,
Oh,
which
yeah?
is really cool. And then the cargo containers, what are they called?
That can sometimes have gene stealers in them.
Can they?
I think there were rules for them in 7th where it was like a random roll on the table to see what was inside them when you went near them.
Nice. I like it. Yeah, so I built all the containers, the barrels, and the crates. And so I still have the, what's it called?
Are those
The
for
Bastion to do.
Are those for Encounter Wargaming or the club?
Encounter Wargaming.
Cool.
Yeah.
And
then, sorry, I also did, I finished a few Infinity models I painted for somebody, and I finished those Shadespire Corn dudes, and primed up some Thunderfire cannons for a customer.
Cool.
nice.
That's me.
I spent, was it a Friday night? Friday and a Saturday night? No, Friday night. Yeah, no. I went and got Portuguese chicken and then got drunk.
I love Portuguese chicken.
Oh, Bairrada? So good. So good.
I got a 3 chicken meal on, like 3 full chickens.
Yeah, that's my guy.
Full container potatoes rice Saturday night. Anyways,
yeah,
about
but-
your Portuguese chicken.
Yeah, no, I was supposed to, like, go on a date, and the lady canceled on me, so I was like, I'm still going to the restaurant I wanted to go to. Like,
Oh, that's too funny.
yeah, I was like, I still gotta eat. But yeah, what did I get done hobby-wise? The Typhon is all finished up. Big, stupid tank, all weathered. Yeah, so from getting the yellow and black and the gray stripe done last week, I was able to get the yellow highlighted, the black highlighted, brought it back down with a spray of matte varnish, and then went in with sponges, chipped everything up really nice. And luckily, Forge World sent me my Dorn, and that was packed with foam. And the crumb on the foam, the spacing of the bubbles is the best chipping
Interesting.
Nice.
pad, because it's open, but the actual sponge material is very thin, so you can build it up really quickly. But it builds up in very discrete increments.
Nice.
Like it's, or not discrete increments. It's like very gradual. And then did the brown, red, orange weathering powders on the tracks, and sealed that up, and it looks really. I just love the effect that has on, like, you just do lead belcher, you wash it, you do lead belcher again, and then you hit it with your weathering powders, and it looks magnifique. Did a couple of decals on it, and then she was done. Chipped up the decals, and that was out the door.
It looks real. I have to say that the big Imperial Fist decal that looks textured is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. When you showed me a picture of that, I was like, it looks like almost like brass etch.
Yeah.
Once you put it on.
And I think that's kind of what they were trying to do. And what I did with that, if you go onto the website, you can see the decal that we're talking about on Forge World. But it has like a big metal fist, and it's sort of on marble, and there's like a metal ring around the circle. And I went in with pastel pencils, and I sort of like traced underneath the circle and like did streaks down with like brown and red, and then like smudged it so it just has like a very slight rust like streak on it, because I did like a few rust streaks here and there with the pencils other places. And honestly, I'm very pleased with it. I didn't rush it. I took my time. What did we 18 months with it?
Yeah, because I think we both got our super heavies in like August, September 2016.
Yeah. So 18 months to get this thing done. And then...
But you only got it done a couple weeks after Nick got his done.
That's
so
right.
Not bad.
I just needed, like, the friendly competition. Or, like, to avoid the shame for certain. And then with the narrative campaign we're planning, I did the captain with the jump pack and the thunderhammer that you saw last week. And I can't have him rolling out alone, so I did a unit of Vanguard. I just picked up the assault kit, the newest iteration of the assault marine kit, because it has like really cool arm poses. I got that from Sword and Board. Thank you, Raph, for hooking it up when he held it for me when I wanted it, and also got me a sweet deal on a Rhino, a used one. But yeah, no, the Space Marine kit just was able to go into my bits box and get all the power weapons I needed. So I did 2 power axes. One comes in the kit, and one I just had kicking around. I did 2 Gladius style swords. So like the
30k kits.
Yeah, the 30k, and then the sword that's in the Mark V kit. That's the one that I did on my leader. So he's got the big cool power sword, and I'm pretty pleased with their poses. They look really dynamic. And just for variation, I did Mark IV heads on them, most of them. I did a Mark III head on one guy.
Because it's super cool.
Right. And did some sanguinary guard legs with all the Blood Angel-y stuff just sculpted off. So, yeah, so I think they're going to look like good Vanguard vets. Once they're yellow, they'll fit the part.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have any games played?
Not Warhammer.
You playing that Infinity, son?
I did. Filmed 2 games on Friday, Thursday.
Okay.
But I won them both. It made me feel better about that game, because I hate that game.
Isn't that like one of the flagship games you guys do?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a whole story there.
You gonna tell it?
The models look really cool, so I bought the starter set, because we want to be a channel that like shows the full experience of wargaming and shows different games and stuff. And the rules in the starter set aren't the actual rules.
That's fun.
So so our first 5 videos, we played through all the starter set missions. So first off, they're complicated rules, because it's so different from any other miniature game, the way the mechanics work, and 2, there's just a lot of like modifiers and things that break all the rules, and so it's tough to wrap your mind around all of it. So we tried to learn this rule set, realized it wasn't the right rule set. All of our videos got comments on it like crazy saying, that's not how you play the game. And we're like, what do you mean? And then we started playing against other people outside of just the 2 of us. And I got trounced like a whole bunch of games in a row. And
oh, that's tough.
It's super demoralizing when you're trying to like learn a game.
That's rough.
And there's a lot of like, I don't know, like not like gotcha moments, because like I just don't know the game. But they feel like gotcha moments where it's just like, well, that sucks, you know? Anyways, so it's just tough learning a game that's, that has a lot of that kind of stuff where you have to know what everything does. Whereas Warhammer, you can show up and be like, that's a big gun, that probably kills my big tank. That's a little gun, that probably kills my little infantry. You know? It's pretty simple at the end of the day.
Also, we've spent like nigh on 2 decades looking at the shape of a bolter. So
Yeah, the 20 years experience helps.
Oh god, I'm so old.
So anyways, that's why I both love and hate Infinity, and 2 wins helped boost my morale a little bit when it comes to that game.
I'm happy for you. I also didn't get any games, but the completion of the Typhon has me scheduling a 30K, a 3K game with Connor, the hair collie. So
Nice.
we're just gonna bring our big toys and slap each other until one of us falls down.
We need to have our super heavy rematch. We
Yep.
both have ours built and painted.
Yes, sir.
What's Connor's super heavy?
A knight, a Spartan. I don't know.
Probably Spartan.
Yeah, we'll bring something.
That's not super heavy.
It's a Lord of War.
Spartan's a Lord of War?
Yeah, in 40K.
Oh, and 40K.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
talking...
yeah, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Iron Hands and Imperial Fist don't fight. You totally should, though. I'd love to see that 30K fight go down.
It would be brutal.
It'd be a fun fight. So, as always, I got 2 games. Not as always, but I seem to be the one who plays the most games. So,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's not even a pejorative. I
No.
would just take that as fact.
That was what I was trying to get across. So, Adam recently finished a beautiful Dark Angels army for Phil. And I got to play against it with
Nice.
with my unpainted orc, so I felt a little bad, but...
That's alright, he paid someone to paint his models.
Yeah.
Phil and I were talking, but both of us, I think, are on like the same struggles with 8th, just trying to find the fun. So he built
The fun.
an
You
8th.
say it like it's nothing. Yeah.
It's
It's kind
something
of a big deal.
It's something that I've been struggling with for a while, and I think orcs are going to bring it back for me.
Okay.
They really are. The 3 games that I play with them have just been fun. Like,
Nice.
there's not a single moment where I'm like, oh, it's just nonstop fun. So the army you painted, so Deathwing Knights, Deathwing Terminators, Belial, Azrael, 10 Hellblasters, Intercessors, Scouts, Ancient, Apothecary, Lieutenant. That's basically it. And I was running my 2 squads of 10 Commandos, Snickrot, 30 Boys, Weird Boys. Same list I ran against Paul. And somehow I pulled out a win, which was just awesome. It was just, I was able to get the Commandos behind him.
Paul, if you can't see it, he's so unsatisfied right now.
I was able to get the Commandos behind him, and I found out I love this about orcs is when you can surround an entire unit of Space Marines so they can't fall back.
That's gamey. That's for a guy that's saying like, oh, I don't like the non-real world translation. Like, just a ring of green fungus men can like totally stop dudes that can stomp them.
What?
Like you're
Orcs are a match, but like an orc is a match for a Space Marine in the fluff.
okay.
And one of the things I don't like about 8th is the fallback mechanic, because I find that like trying to get an assault army doesn't really work. But if you can surround somebody, you can stop the whole I fall back and then I get shot with 10 Hellblasters. How do you deal with that?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you deliver a lot of assaults at once.
Yeah. But a good player would stop that from being able to happen.
But a good player would find a way to do it.
Exactly. Surrounding a unit with guys to stopping them from fall back.
So the point is, a horde assault army works.
Yeah, so just little fun things like surrounding a unit and then Snickrot bailing a charge. So Snickrot standing out in the open, but the aggressors can't shoot at Snickrot because right next to them is a unit of commandos locked in combat.
Dumb. That is stupid. That's a dumb mechanic.
Do you see my problems with 8th?
I do.
Yeah. But yeah, no, MVPs were just orc boys. They just cleaved through 5 Deathwing Knights and 5 Deathwing Terminators. I got a weird boy off, getting like a +3 to his psychic test, which put him at exactly 11. I rolled an 8. And I'm like, oh, 1, 2, 3, 11, D6 smite, hit Belial, rolled a 4. How many wounds does he have? 5. Command point, rolled a 5, and just exploded Belial's head, which just felt so good.
Dirty.
And then Snickrot chewed through a lieutenant who charged him, 2 aggressors, and an apothecary. And then just went down to Hellblaster Fire.
Well, I mean, no one's perfect.
No. But it was just... it was a fun game. It's a tough army. We played Maelstrom, so I think that kind of switched it out, because I think he had a very Castle type army, and when you have to, like, send your guys out when you're dealing with, like, hordes coming from every direction, it's just not easy to score those points.
Yeah, those little scout units won't stand up to a 30-man mob charge or anything.
Or 10 commandos.
Yeah.
And doing the Warpath Psychic Power, so +1 attack on a squad of 30 boys next to a Wog banner.
It's filthy.
It's 30 boys with 4 attack space hitting on 2s.
120 attacks hitting on 2s, right?
Yeah. If you can't get them all in because it's a squad of Terminators,
Right.
but it's still like 80 attacks,
Yeah.
and you're gonna roll 1s. And then the Knob just hitting on threes, just punching Terminators in the face. But it was cool, because Dark Angels have that cool weapon on their Deathwing Knights that does 2 or 3 damage.
And
But it spills over, so he's just wrecking orcs as it goes.
Is that the Mace of the Unforgiven?
Yeah.
Or what? Yeah. Flail.
The flail.
I love that mechanic. That's so unique and kind of makes sense that it's like a flail where it's like 4 or 5 heads on that thing, just banging dudes in the face.
Yeah. Apparently that's the mechanic for all mortal wounds in Age of Sigmar.
Yes, it is.
That sucks, and I'm glad that's not the way it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was just a really fun game. Yeah, had a lot of fun. It's really going to push me to get the orcs painted.
Good, man.
I wrote a new list that I want to run. Dakajet never does anything. I'm going to run it as a Blitzabomber.
Sure. Just stick some bombs on the bottom.
I have the bombs magnetized.
Perfect.
So that was my Friday night game. We also drank a bunch of oatmeal brown ales from Left Field Brewery and got a little tipsy towards the end, but that's a good Friday night.
Straight out of left field.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then Saturday I had to play a 30k game against the Space Puppies.
How are they?
Terrifying.
So you lost?
No, I won. But they're still terrifying.
False face.
Lots of infantry.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they succeeded, because like we were going into it.
They didn't succeed. They failed.
Yes, but I think that's where they succeed, is being able to field lots of infantry.
Yeah.
Because their compulsory troops aren't TAC Marines, they're Grey Slayer units.
Okay.
Which are basically like veterans with counterattack and just way better stats.
Sweet.
Very melee-oriented army. He wanted to play with Lords of War, and then didn't bring a Lord of War. He's the guy who decided not to bring it. So I brought the Falchion, because he wanted to bring a Lord. I don't have another Lord of War for 30k. And
I guess you're primary.
yeah, it would make sense. I guess I could have brought Lorgar. I mean, not Lorgar, Fulgrim. That's the one. But it was so funny. So he was so scared of it, he dropped the Leviathan down in front of it. Like, first turn, didn't do anything. And then fired the D cannon at it. Did nothing. Shrugged it off with an invulnerable save. Then one last cannon hit, gets through, immobilizes it, and he's just like, oh, shit. It's Leviathan just standing there. But yeah, the D cannon in 30k, like, people are terrified of it. It did 1 hull point to a Land Raider, 1 hull point to a Rhino the next turn, 1 hull point to a Predator the next turn, and then just got blown up by his Deathsworn unit.
But the problem is how it shuts down all of those 1 hull point.
Not really, because it doesn't
Snapshot?
shut it down, because they have Power of the Machine Spirit, and you're still moving and getting your guys in position to grab objectives.
Yeah, I still think that it's like it's not.
No, it's good.
It's not
Yeah.
ridiculous.
No, but it wasn't like blowing things up. But the definite best moment of the game was when he dropped down a squad of Deathsworn and a Dreadclaw, and I was like, "What do those things do?" He's like, "Well, they all have power axes and melta bombs, and they're with a guy who gives them preferred enemy and feel no pain, and they all have 4 attacks each on the charge, and if they're charged because of counterattack with preferred enemy, and if you charge them or in any fight phase, if they get killed before they get to fight, they fight at initiative 1. They have power axes; they fight at initiative 1 anyways." So I charged him with my Palatine Blade Squad and killed everybody but one guy because he made like 2 successful feel no pain rolls, and then he was like, "Oh, all 9 of my guys get to attack back," and we just kill each other.
I loved your face.
Good.
Yeah, it was just hilarious. Like, trying so hard to kill this last guy. That squad had previously blown up the Falchion with melta bombs.
I like these guys already.
And honestly, it came down to War of Lies. I won 22-16.
Oh, did he just roll poorly?
No, he only held 1 objective, and he rolled like I get 1 victory point. And I was like, okay, so now it's like 16-16, and then I rolled 2 5s, which is 3 victory points each.
War of Lies is not like it is not an accurate picture of how well you have played a game.
Remember that time Chaz lost a game by -2 points?
Yes.
He ended up at the end of the game with -2 points.
Oh no.
And he was ahead by 2.
Yeah.
And then he rolled the 6 for both objectives that he held,
Dirty.
Yeah.
and then lost 4 victory points.
Yeah, so, like, ostensibly he won that game.
Yeah.
Not in the War of Lies, bro.
Not in the War But I'm just saying, like, War of Lies is a very narrative the set of missions.
They should put it in the top round of ITC for sure.
Yeah.
Go crazy.
That pissed some people off.
And that, here's a question for you. Something else. Going back to my first game against Phil, because we covered in the Dark Angels episode, the stratagem for 1 command point where you get to keep all your tactical objectives secret in a Maelstrom game is so fun to play against. Because he puts the card down and he's like, yeah, okay, and then just draws his cards. But I could just be remembering this wrong, and people who are listening to us, watching us on chat now, Twitch, sorry, feel free to chime in. I want to hear your guys' opinion. I thought there was an FAQ or an errata somewhere where if you have an ability to regain command points, you can't do it for command points spent before the game. And I feel like that's kind of like my imagination, but like I have this weird memory of that being a rule.
I mean, somebody told me that. Somebody told me that once, and I think their explanation was it's because your model's not on the table, and you're not spending those command points when that model's on the table either, right? So there's multiple layers for why it doesn't work.
Yeah. I don't know.
We couldn't find the rule, so we just went and go ahead
Simon will know.
because Azrael has that rule. So just on a 5-up. So
Right.
Phil was spending doing Weapons of the Dark Age or whatever, and then getting them back. So someone just chimed in. But yeah, I'd like to see the rule somewhere. I let him do it. It's kind of cool. I think it was only used for one thing. It was just the tactical objective thing. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need an FAQ to find an explanation for why that you can't do that.
Yeah. It was a fun game. Great army. You did a great job painting them. They look really cool. They look like it's the very subtle dark green Dark Angels that are really good Primaris stuff. And Belial and Azrael are both really, really good because they're both reroll all failed hits.
It's so that's like having 2 chapter masters.
But Phil's so funny. He's like, all my Azrael, everyone within 6 inches gets a 4 invulnerable save. I'm like, I don't have any weapons that can bring your normal save below a 4-up.
He just needed to say it, right? He's so excited about it. Yeah,
I can't do it. I literally have no shooting that has a negative modifier.
Oh, because orcs. Yeah, against your Slanesh, that would have been huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, against orcs, who cares?
No. It's okay. Make 100 3-up saves. Go.
You're like, meh.
But yeah, I really want to get the orcs painted because, they're bringing the fun back in 8th.
Good, man.
I'll ate my beard for power. I'm sorry, I couldn't hold that in.
So if you're part of the Twitch chat, you just heard me say something crazy.
But yeah, so that's it for our normal thing. So we are going to have a nice plate of beard.
Yeah, I'm going to share it. For those of you listening to this the old-fashioned, timey, podcasty way. And
Paul eats beards.
I eat beards, and Adam doesn't have as much of a beard as he used to.
So you can fill in the blanks.
By a lot. By a full 2 inches, 3 inches.
All right, don't go anywhere.
Battle Brothers Studios, a commission painting service passionate about making your miniatures and your gaming table look great. Our philosophy at Battle Brothers is this: your army is our army. Every model will be something you can be proud to show off. Send us a message on facebook.com/Battle Brothers Studios for a free quote and make that dream project come to life. We also have something special planned for the release of 8th edition of 40K. Right now, get 20% off if you commission us to paint an 8th edition starter set, or get a 10% off Army Bundle bonus for painting up your new 8th edition 40K Army. Inquire with us on Facebook for full details.
G'day. How are you now? Tried to paint a mini the other day. Realized my brushes were drier than a Saskatoon field in May. So I did what any reasonable man in his mid-30s would do, and I hopped over to thewarpainter.com to resupply. Thewarpainter.com is Canada's greatest hobby store for all things hard to find. Scale 75, Broken Toad, the Army Painter, and Valet Ho. All supporters of Encounter Wargaming get 10% off their first order with the code EWG10. They got you covered.
And we're back to episode 10.
Woo.
And I have a very unpopular opinion.
What's that?
Magnus did nothing wrong.
He broke the Imperial Palace.
What are you opening there?
I am opening Henderson's Winter Seasonal. I was going to pour it so we could all, enjoy it.
Hear the glug glug?
The key to enjoying Toronto winters as a grown-up is to remind yourself of the pleasures it brought when you were young. Go sledding, build a snow person, get out on the skating rink, have a snowball fight, go skiing, and when you're done doing those things, enjoy a beer. I don't think I did that when I was a child. Probably. Brewed for grown-ups.
My childhood.
Brewed for grown-ups who love winter. It's here, in this bottle, the beer that will remind you of how great winter can be. I will shove this down your throat if you do that. Because no one else will want to drink.
Was aiming to do that.
Yeah. Also, I don't know what you're talking about because this is a audio-only medium.
So I think this is a stout. That's yours, Paul.
Oh.
Adam, this is the one that you got to sample. Did you have this one yet?
Yeah, we had... Well, did we do this last week?
No, we did not.
Because this is not what I got when we were there yesterday. Or 2 days ago, or whatever. Whenever that was.
It was yesterday. It feels like longer.
Yeah.
Because Mondays suck. Wait, no, Tuesdays suck.
Tuesday is demonstrably the worst day of the week because everyone knows Monday's a friggin' write-off.
Except for, it's the podcast
Ooh,
on Tuesday.
I like that. It's got a smoky aftertaste to it.
Yeah, I wouldn't order this for myself, but I don't go for like the dark heavy stuff.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
Because
if you like dark heavy stuff, you'll like this.
Yeah. So this is exactly what it says on the tin. Like it's just a nice, tasty, dark beer.
It's warm. It'll keep you company around the fire. But also, like, it's big, but it doesn't come on strong from the start.
Yeah, just like Paul.
But anyways, all right, so Magnus did nothing wrong, according to Nick.
We'll walk through it.
We'll walk through it. So what do you want to do right off the top?
So we have. Well, first of all, let's answer the question: why are they called the Thousand Suns?
Well, they were so small in number because of the propensity for mutation in their gene seed, which probably had a lot to do, or was probably due to the fact that they were the first legion to really manifest psychic powers in any sort of meaningful way. So during the campaigns before Magnus was discovered, they had psychic powers and they were using them, but the gene seed was very unstable and it would lead to what was called the flesh change, which now we would recognize as just chaos mutations. So some people would have wacky limbs, some people would be full-on chaos spawn and just put to the flame.
Yeah. So that's why they're called the Thousand Suns.
Yep.
So Magnus is their Primarch. Super cool dude. I like him. Except he did a couple shitty things, but all Primarchs did a couple shitty things.
Well, the first shitty thing he did was not shitty at all.
Let's go back to the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, his origin story, shall we?
So he lands on Prospero.
Yeah, so this was a Prospero was a world where Psychers found refuge from the haters that is humanity, because, spoiler alert, humanity doesn't really get better at the whole racism and fear of others in the 40k universe.
No. Also, Prospero, for you non-English majors, non-Shakespeare people, named after the sorcerer in...
Othello.
Nope. Winter Sail? No, that's not right. Oh, no, I should know this. I'm sorry, Dr. Jones. No, it's the one with Caliban.
Oh, why am I...
Exit pursued by a bear is like the famous stage. It's got Hermione, the statue. Oh, why do I not?
Chat. Listen to us on Twitch. What Shakespeare play was Prospero in?
Caleb will get it.
Tempest?
The Tempest.
That's the one.
Thank you.
Graham.
Oh, for Graham.
Thanks, Graham.
But yeah, anyways, it's named after the sorcerer. Well, sorcerer from Prospero.
Yeah.
From that.
So Magnus knew about So Magnus was just part of this thing, which was just basically a shitty little world where metal was really rare. They were fighting the Psycho Nuin, which was like a psychically attuned... When I read about them in the Thousand Suns book, they seemed to me to be like psychic leopards, with a super cool.
Yeah.
And they would lay their eggs using mind egg insemination into psychers' brains, and then their brains would pop with psychic leopard babies.
So it's like Alien meets something else.
Alien meets InfoWars.
So Magnus helped them defeat these things. So as he gets back into, finding out about the Emperor exists, the mutations start getting worse.
Well, I think one thing that we need to go back to is he finds out that the Emperor exists before he meets him. They meet, like, in the ethereal plane, like, just walking around warp stuff.
Keep that in mind for when we discuss about what...
Yeah, I know. So, that's how he met the Emperor. So when they met for the first time, it was like...
You look nothing like you did online.
Yeah.
Shouldn't
and, like,
right on that.
It's really hinted at that Prospero was very just sopping with warp energy. So there were like these beings that were kind of like guiding spirits that would like give knowledge to people.
Oh, that's... Yeah.
They're demons. They're straight up demons.
But that's just it. Demon, the classical way of spelling demon that we know, is D-E-M-O-N, which is a demonic entity usually associated with hell and evil.
Yeah.
D-A-E-M-O-N
It's like an air spirit.
Is an air spirit that gives you knowledge and helps you.
Right.
It's not necessarily evil. So when demons in 40K, they're spelt. Which way are they spelt?
A.
Yeah.
A-E. Yeah, well, you tell that to a bloodthirster that's hauling your guts out your belly. Actually, you're an air spirit. Blah, 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 blah.
Ain't no information here, but...
I wanted to throw in there, too, just on the topic of the Emperor and Magnus meeting. I read it, I skimmed through the codex, and one of the lines I thought was really cool is like when they actually met in person for the first time, they said it like they met as if they were old friends.
Yeah, and that's the idea. They had these weird psychic fireside chats. And it's like meeting someone that you've only ever emailed at work, and you're like, oh my god, Brenda from accounting, 3 doors down. I've never met you before. But in this case, Brenda built an empire on the skulls of the subjugated. Anyways, going forward.
So to stop the change, Magnus enters the warp, and because he had a terrible father who decided to hide the fact that the warp was a bad place and there were bad people in there, and don't talk to strangers in the warp because they're going to offer you candy and then touch you. Magnus did exactly that. He went into the warp, was offered candy in the form of, we will help you stop the mutations.
Now, did they stop the mutations, or did they give him the knowledge too?
They gave him the knowledge to stop the mutations. So,
okay.
But...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You sure?
That's what it says. In return for knowledge and a way to stop the flesh change, Magnus lost his eye so hard that he never saw it coming.
Did you read that?
So the guy sold his eye, and
Yeah.
I like that because if you go back to your mythologies, there's often a character that gives up an eye for knowledge. You've got your Odins, you got your guy from Valhalla Rising. That's basically the two that come to mind.
Body parts.
Body parts.
Some sort of sacrifice.
But eye is often like it's the most symbolic one. It's like a part of your soul for knowledge.
So,
and this is still only, from what I read in the codex, this is still only theorized that's how it went down.
That's pretty much
how it went down.
Yeah, I remember reading about it in one of the heresy books.
I mean, either way, that the codex explicitly says one of the opinions is
So then the Thousand Sons embark on the Great Crusade, and they were extremely interesting because they used psychic intelligence, diplomacy, manipulation to really enforce. What's the word they used a lot? Compliance. Compliance without firing a single shot. So they would push people in the right direction, get the right people out of there. Maybe maybe use some weird sort of drugs, and then go through like 6 levels of dreams, where on each level time gets slower to make people have their own ideas about how a world should be run.
We should listen to more Edith Piaf songs.
But this was also a funny thing that happened. So after they conquered or annexed a world, they would just take everything that was like in a scroll form.
Yeah, they were like
Magpies.
Yeah, they're like compulsive compilers of information, codiciers, if you will,
Bordering on a fetish.
Yeah, because Prospero wasn't just a psyker safe zone. It was like a academic,
They turned it into one. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, Thousand Suns, super cool, kind of different.
Yeah. Another thing to mention is during their crusade, became very good friends with the White Scars, and
Like good friends.
yeah, like pals.
Like the Khan's only friend.
Yeah,
Which is kind of cool, because I can't wait for... I gotta read Path to Heaven, because that really gets into Scars, because Scars, the book I've talked about on the podcast before, is absolutely fantastic, because the Scars Legion had their own civil war over Prospero. Like, the fleet was in orbit over Prospero, and then the faction loyal to the War Master tried to launch a coup against the Khan when he was down on the planet. But Path to Heaven...
never bet against the Khan, you dummy.
But the Path to Heaven is the White Scars fighting the Emperor's children and the Death Guard to get back to Terra. And I just really want to read it. But I haven't yet, because I got too much stuff on my plate. But I will one day. So then we come to the Council of Nicaea.
Named after the Council of Nicaea.
Which was?
It's just where the Holy Roman Empire decided what goes into the Bible. We don't need to get into it now, because I feel like arguing about religion on the internet's a fraught thing to start.
So, refresh my memory. Was the Emperor present, or was it just Malcador?
No, the Emperor was present.
He didn't do much talking then.
No.
So basically...
It said he presided over the whole thing. Like, he was like the arbiter.
So the Emperor had issues with there being Psychers in the Space Marine Legion. Or Mortarion did? Somebody did.
Other Primarchs did.
Yeah, Mortarion, who is now a level 3 Psyker in 40k.
Which is weird, because he hates himself. Well, actually makes perfect sense.
Daddy issues. Like all Primarchs. We already agreed on this.
True.
But, so there was just a giant council, and Magnus really didn't do himself any favors. Him and Russ actually started... Him and Mortarion, or him and Russ?
I'm not sure. I don't think anyone came to blows, but it was like everyone almost.
And Lorgar had to step in and stop them from fighting.
Yeah, and like Armand gives a very impassioned speech that, like, you know, man's manifest destiny is to control all aspects of the world and reality, and like overcome these things. And everyone's like, good point, but these weapons or like abilities as they stand aren't understood, so we shouldn't use them. So, you know, the Emperor decrees, all right, no more Psychers, which doesn't really... So all the traitors, no one really listened. Like,
well, the Council of Nicaea introduced the chaplains.
Right. To you know, do a sort of compliance amongst the chapters, but like legions like the World Eaters had so few librarians that they were like, we're going to keep on librarian. And then the White Scars were like, we're going to do what we like. So they kept their librarians, and...
The Space Wolves did their thing.
Yeah, they were like, listen, it's totally not the warp. It's, you know, just, it's scratchy letters in old wood and stones, so that's magic. So that's cool, too. And, you know, so Magnus takes it really to heart. He's like, I gotta stop all my wizardy stuff, and then goes and, like, starts more wizardy stuff. So no one... Only the people that were going to listen to it, and it just...
Yeah, because, I mean, the Emperor's children never had... they weeded out their librarians. So they had chaplains, but they never had librarians. Ultramarines, they stripped their librarians of their rank and sent them back down into, like, the tactical marine thing, which is kind of like, that's kind of shitty.
Yeah, well, I mean...
I don't know what did they...
Man, when you ban librarians, only evil people will have librarians.
What happened with the Fists librarians?
I don't know. Didn't really come up.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, it'd be curious to see what other legions did in the
Black
Council.
Templars like fully took that to heart.
Yeah,
They
they
don't even have librarians now.
yeah they hate the witch, which is like dumb.
So the Council and the Council of Anarchy was just one of the strangest things because, to me, if you know the end story, the Emperor obviously knew that humanity would come in conflict with chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you not giving your legion, your force, who has already come in contact with chaos on multiple occasions and fought them off using conventional means? Why would you not educate them on how to fight them using the only weapon that can actually defeat them, which is psychic powers?
I don't know, Nicholas. I do not know.
Don't know the innermost thoughts of a mythical character.
So moving on, somehow Magnus learned that Horus intended to betray the Emperor. I think
But actually, there is an answer to that. That like, because of the kind of stigma around psychers in the past, they were like, "This has only ever led to evil. We should just not do it." And the Emperor was like, "Okay, fine. We'll have navigators on our ships." And
Yeah, that's what the Council of Nicaea sort of.
and me.
You can have navigators. They could have astropaths,
yeah,
and then they're like, but the rest is bad. So
Yeah.
it was like sort of functional.
yeah,
And like if you read the early histories of Terra, it sort of seems like there was a lot of chaosy shenanigans during like
The Dark Age.
yeah,
But yeah, moving on because we don't want to spend all day on the fluff.
we kind of do.
Fair enough.
It's only 20 minutes.
Yeah, Magnus. I think when Horus was stabbed by the fat Nurgle being dude in the crashed ship on Davin, he was in so much pain and he was having so much psychic shocks that it resonated to Magnus because he was such like an empathic psyker.
Well, and like Magnus also saw because in Horus Rising, there's that whole weird like Davin Lodge experience, and yeah, that Magnus sort of now recognizes this very powerful soul in the warp.
Yes,
He's like, feels familiar, and he goes over, and it's like, it's his oldest brother.
Horus.
Yeah.
So the Emperor had locked himself in his basement with his version of Warhammer, which was building a webway portal. And no matter what, Magnus couldn't get in contact with him. So he made a deal with Tzeentch, again, not knowing it's Tzeentch because nobody told him, to break down the gate into the Emperor's palace and ruined everything.
So what Nick means by a gate is all these psychic wards that were stopping the forces of chaos from penetrating into Earth, because obviously they want to do this. Yep. This is before the war, before the heresy has even started. But they're working on the webway, so it essentially needs to be protected from all psychic interference,
including Eldar, because they're shifty.
Yep. So and then like Magnus just Leroy Jenkins in here and sees his dad having sex with the webway, and he's scarred for life. And the Emperor does not deal with this well.
No, the Emperor doesn't even listen to him.
Yeah, he's like he
get out! No, don't look at me! Don't look at me! Get out!
get out of here! So he dispatches the Space Wolves to
and
go
and the Talons and the Imperial Army.
Well, they're gathered afterwards, but he dispatches the Space Wolves to censure the Thousand Suns. Meanwhile, all hell breaks loose on Terra. There's suicide, like mass suicides in the millions. There's like crazy murder cults because of the imbalance in like warp energies, and people are like, it'd be really cool, eat your neighbor's face, and everyone's like, that is really cool to do, and it turns out it's not.
Shoot.
It's not cool. Don't do it.
Yeah, we have nice neighbors,
Yeah, it's like, well, Becky, we need to go over there and eat their face.
So this is where I think Magnus did something wrong. His actions up to this point were good intentioned and were just out of sheer ignorance. But at this point, where the Space Wolves are coming, Magnus knows they're coming. He knows that Horus has messed with their communications, because Horus still hasn't betrayed the Emperor at this point. So it was relayed to Horus, tell Russ to go Censor Magnus.
Mm-hmm.
Horus changes the orders.
To kill them. Kill them all.
And Russ doesn't even want to. Russ tries so hard to communicate with Magnus, and Magnus just locks himself in his safe room and won't talk to anybody, uses all of his mental powers to stop any sort of communication going in and out, sends the entire fleet away. That's an interesting point. The entire Thousand Sons fleet survives the burning of Prospero, which is the next chapter that we'll get into. Because he just sends it away. Doesn't activate orbital defenses, and it's not until Ahriman finds out what's going on that Ahriman starts kind of preparing, but then by then it's too late, and the forces have started landing on Prospero.
But Ahriman does manage to mobilize the Thousand Sons on the ground.
Yes.
And they're protecting Tizca?
Yeah, Tizca.
Tizca?
And it's a hell of a fight.
They're doing pretty good. They're all like, you know what? We're getting killed. Unleash the mind bullets.
Yep.
And they are holding their own until the flesh change happens again. And it's the most inopportune time for something like this to happen. And it rolls through the ranks of just regular guys that aren't trained and haven't had a chance to train. So, like, Magnus is, like... I feel like Magnus is...
Hasn't entered the battle at this point.
Oh, sorry. Ahriman's entire character is like, I'm gonna do this. And then 10 minutes later being like, I've made a huge mistake.
I love Ahriman,
Well,
too. Ahriman's another great character.
But he's like committed to it. I haven't read the actual book, but in the codex, he's like, almost like, screw you, Magnus. Like, you weren't even here. I made a decision, and actually, it's better than what it was before. So
Yeah.
It's better than doing nothing.
It's better than it was gonna be.
but not even doing nothing. Like, yeah. I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
Do better than doing nothing.
But that's my point, is that's what Magnus did wrong, is like, here are his options. Ready the forces for war, and start a second kind of heresy battle that would wipe out 2 legions, or
just talk to Lehman Russ.
like surrender immediately and be like, don't kill anybody.
Hey, it's all good. Can we hug this out? Like,
They don't hug. That's not a dog you pet.
So the Thousand Sons end up not doing so well because Sisters of Silence show up.
Yeah, they're just shutting it down.
The Spire Guard are the forces, the human forces that fight for the Thousand Sons, and they do a really good job of killing Space Wolves.
Yeah, they're a PDF force that just, like, kicks ass.
Yeah, they're really, really cool in that book. And eventually Magnus argues back and forth with Tzeentch a lot, and Tzeentch keeps poking him and prodding him until eventually he just goes ballistic and bursts out of his pyramids. Oh yeah, Tizca is made up of a whole bunch of pyramids. It's totally not Egypt. Don't worry about that.
Space Egypt.
And not space robot Egypt.
Oh, there's a lot of robots, too.
We'll get to that when we talk about units. I meant Necrons.
Shush.
And yeah, so Magnus comes out and meets Russ in hand-to-hand combat.
We all know that story.
Magnus Falcon punches Lehman Russ so hard his heart gets punctured.
Yeah, he smashes pieces of ceramite into his chest and pierces one of his hearts.
Then Russ got lucky and I think threw sand or did something to Magnus's second eye, and then did a
there's only one left. So
yeah,
it's pretty easy to
did like a German suplex and broke his back. And just as Magnus's back was breaking, Tzeentch went, "Your entire legion will be destroyed unless you take my deal. Come with me, and I will save everybody, or you'll die." And like time froze, and Magnus had in the book it seemed like an eternity, just like watching every single detail of his legion being destroyed.
You know the end of Doctor Strange where he's like dealing with Dormammu? That's what it is.
Yeah.
Where it's like time has no meaning.
Come to make a deal.
Like, that's what we're dealing with.
And then, boop, the entire legion, not the Spire Guard, just the entire legion got transported to the planet of sorcerers.
And not even the entire legion. There are some people left behind.
Yeah, there's a few left behind.
There's quite a number.
So the Space Wolf didn't notice. That's why they left you. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, no.
So that's it. That's basically it as far as the Thousand Sons are involved in the heresy.
Yep. So,
which is kind of strange. But around the same time as the heresy, you have the Rubric of Ahriman.
right. So Ahriman takes upon himself to fix the flesh change because it's just going nuts at this point. And Ahriman had a brother that he lost to the flesh change, and it's weighing on him. He has taken on the caretaker mantle of the chapter because Magnus is just
sulking in his bedroom.
Yeah, he's just like, I got one eye, I sold out, I suck, I'm not that great. And so Ahriman's like, well, I pretty much can figure this out from Dad's notes, I think. I got this, you believe me, right? I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, I'll go for it.
So he's like, alright, there's this cool spell, it looks like it's going to just kind of purify the flesh so we don't ever have to deal with this. And it worked! Like, sort of.
Depending on your criteria for success.
So, a large percentage of the Legion is just turned to dust inside their armor, and now they're terrifying space mummies.
Yeah, they're dust inside mummy wraps.
So, originally the fluff said that it was anyone without psychic abilities, but as we know, most people have psychic abilities, and there are still Thousand Suns Chaos Space Marines, so the actual...
I think the best way to look at it, it's probably non-psychers and psychers who weren't strong enough to, like, prevent the change.
Yeah, so it's just like, well, dudes, bad news.
Oh, and on good news front.
So seeing how we're talking about the best Thousand Sun, Ahriman.
This is Henderson's best. A fantastic amber ale that is the best.
It
is liquid trapped inside of armored ceramite as opposed
It's
to
true.
dust.
right.
It's just a great beer. They gave us a bunch. I'm not going to read the proof again, but
Copy.
Because
Coffee.
if you're new, you can go back to last episode. We did a full explanation of this. This is their flagship. It's fantastic. It's bitter. It's dark, but it's accessible.
It works.
give me a
baby.
glass, Adam.
Yep, here it comes.
But while Nick is doing that, so the rubric, it sort of works, but doesn't. And Ahriman's like, oh man, I'm going to get in trouble. And Magnus, again, storms out of his castle, and he's like, I'm just going to destroy my most disobedient son, because he has ruined my legion. And Tzeentch, infinite in his wisdom and just his plannedness, it just says, like, no, you won't. Magnus goes free. Ahriman goes free.
Yep.
So Magnus banishes Ahriman from the planet of sorcerers, and Ahriman at this point is like, fine, I'm leaving. Like, I am not appreciated around here. I'm going into the stars, and I'm going to search...
I didn't ask to be made with gene seed, Dad.
That's sort of his deal. Like, he's one of the few Space Marine characters that gets treated like shit and is like, I'm not putting up with this anymore. This is garbage. I'm so smart. I kill people with mind bullets. Yesterday, a guy made me mad, and I turned his teeth into spiders, and no one said shit to me all day. Like, that's what you're dealing with.
It's like it's representative of the relationship between Magnus and the Emperor.
Yeah, and Magnus, super sad, doesn't get that.
Yeah.
Like,
Talk about generational daddy issues.
Yep. So before we jump into the new codex, let's end there because that's the heresy, and let's talk a little bit about how they're represented in the heresy system.
real quick, make
Paul,
this quick.
I want you to hold on. I need you to hold your rage in.
Keep it in. Tristan, get ready.
So Thousand Suns are actually one of the coolest, most unique legions. A lot of people, and myself included, say this. Book 7 Inferno is only balanced against itself. You've got the Space Wolves, the Thousand Suns, and the Talons of the Emperor. They're all ridiculous.
So really what we're saying is the Talons of the Emperor and the Thousand Suns are only balanced against each other.
Yep.
We can just leave the Space Wolves out.
So any HQ unit who is not already a Psyker can purchase mastery levels in the Horus Heresy system, and Psykers are rare. None of us run any Psykers in our army.
No.
They are super, super rare. Word Bearers, I think Raven Guard, and Thousand Suns are the main users. I think once White Scars have rules, they will have their own.
And Raven Guard probably won't do it anymore because they don't need invisibility is not a thing.
No, but I mean fluff-wise.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
the Raven Guard definitely use librarians. But instead of having like a Legion special rule, they have like a cult rule. So any unit can get assigned a cult, And cults, if you choose your entire army to have the same cult, you get bonuses. But they're things like +1 to run and sweeping advance. Why would you ever take that? It also gives you access to a psychic discipline. So if you're Pavoni, you get Biomancy, and you get Quick Blood. Maybe that's why, so you get Biomancy. But the best ones are definitely gains a 6+ invulnerable save, or improves their invulnerable save by 1 to a maximum of 3+, and that's when you end up with 3+ 2 wound terminators.
Rude.
Very rude.
Especially...
Hold on. It's okay. We'll get there.
Because
It's
I
all-
have to
we'll-
pay 15
we'll get
points
there.
for my 3+.
So if any unit with within the Thousand Suns detachment suffers a Perils of the Warp attack, every infantry unit with the Legiones Astartes rule has to take a pinning test,
Good.
which is kind of cool.
Hope they die.
Yeah, and it's just cool things like that. So they have a cool piece of war gear called Asphax shells, which are bolter shells that have shred.
That's so handy.
Super cool.
Arcane dust.
Arcane Litanies. You can give this to, I think, any independent character, and they just ignore the first Perils of the Warp test. It's 10 points.
It's really good. There's no reason you wouldn't take that.
No. Because especially if the rest of your army is taking a pinning check after you do that, you do not want to take that.
Yeah.
What else we got here? They have Psychic Dreadnoughts. They have an Osiren Dreadnought, which is super cool.
I really don't like the models for the Thousand Suns Dreadnoughts. Like,
No?
I know that I should. And I like all their infantry. I love the upgrade heads. I think they're cool as hell. But the Dread, I was like, ugh.
Yeah, it's fair.
I don't like it.
They also have a special psychically piloted Castellax Battle Automata unit, which is super cool.
Those things are dope as hell.
That's kind of an interesting... Do you know any of the fluff behind that? Like, why do they...
It's a
Because the
golem.
Iron Warriors do that too, right?
But they don't have psychically attuned ones.
No, but like they're basically the only other army that brings in those units like that.
Yeah, Prospero was near a Forge World.
Yep.
Okay,
The
cool.
Zao Arc, the near renegade Forge World of Zao Arcad.
You see, I know this stuff, but I don't know when my sister's birthday is.
I'm the same way, man.
I know when my brother's birthday is,
Yeah, well, I
but
mean,
I don't know that.
I know when my
stuff.
sister's birthday.
So we have Sekhmet Terminators, who for a squad of 5, who have Psyker rules and a 3+ invulnerable save, and Force Weapon and a Combi Bolter with Shred rounds, cost less than Phoenix Terminators.
Listen, Phoenix, we know we have the worst Legion-specific stuff.
Yep. They have another really cool unit called the Kenetai Occult Blade Cabal, which is just a dope group of dudes with force swords. They just have 2 force swords. And they run into battle and they chop things to pieces.
Which you'll see come up in the relics from 40k.
Yeah. So the more you have in the squad gives you a bonus. So if you have 9 to 10 blades and a blade master, you get +2 attacks and +1 weapon skill.
+2 attacks.
+2 attacks. So you're sitting at 1 attack base, 1 for 2 close combat weapons, and 1 on the charge. So you're 5 attacks on the charge.
That's so stupid.
And that kind of just degrades as you go down.
It's like most Praetors are 5 attacks.
They are also Brotherhood of Psychers, so you can give them things like Endurance and Enfeeble to enfeeble other units. Super cool.
This is why you buy Typhons. This is why people buy Typhons.
They also have the best scouts in the game.
This is why Forge World got woke.
So
This is how they got woke, to be like, we need to sell more models. Let's just make the rules amazing.
Let's just go crazy.
Yeah.
You want to lose your friggin' mind with me? Okay.
So listen to this. This is the scout unit. They're called the Amarita Occult Intercession Cabal.
All right, we got to get off 30k soon. I'm gonna pop a vein.
Okay. This is the
warp
psychic
speed,
power.
3 but +3 attacks each.
But this is the psychic power that the scout squad has.
8 attacks each.
Yep.
Sorry, scouts, hit me with it.
Mind Killer. It's their own specific psychic power. It's a blessing which targets their own unit. While the power is in effect, they may reroll all failed to hit and to wound rolls. and they gain the ignores cover special rules.
So all of a sudden they have a chapter master standing next to them.
Yeah, well, I mean,
And
fear is
ignore-
the mind killer.
With sniper rifles.
Ignores cover in this game is so good.
Yep. With sniper rifles. That's super good.
Just stop talking about 30k.
Then we have Ben Kingsley.
Yep.
We-
They didn't even try with that one. The art in that one is just Ben Kingsley.
This is Magister Amon. He's super good. A lot of battle reports I've watched and don't use Armin. They use him. Just a lot of fun stuff. And then, Paul, why don't you tell us what Magnus the Red does in 30k?
We've covered it so many times.
Here comes Tristan!
I'm not doing it. No, I can't. Because it's just nonsense he's got.
So, when you were talking about your... I'll bring this up now, because it's the time. When you were talking about painting your Typhon...
Oh, I saw him say it.
Tristan said, "Oh, you mean that tank I exploded with Magnus?" But hold on, it wasn't the only tank he exploded.
No, it was a Spartan and
A Land Raider.
a Land Raider, and a
A Sakaran.
Sakaran,
And another Sakaran.
and I think a Rhino,
And a whole bunch of Terminators.
yeah, a couple of Terminators, and it was super great.
Only a couple.
Yeah. So yeah, Magnus.
Because we added it up. It was what?
It was-
What was it?
it was-
1,500 points of stuff.
Yeah, in like one turn,
One phase.
one
psychic
One
power.
spell.
one spell. Yeah, he's broken in.
Tristan or Magnus?
Tristan's broken like emotionally, but in game terms, Magnus, it's just he can add was it D6 to the strength.
No, so what you... yeah, kind of. But what you do is you add +2 warp charges to the power of the spell, which Magnus harnesses on a 3-up, because he's Magnus.
No problem there.
No problem. And you add 2d6 to the strength
And
of
if it-
any Witchfire.
And if it goes above 10, it becomes D. He also doubles the range of anything, and a Nova power becomes. What we
It
did?
goes from like 9 inches to 18 inches, which means that it's 18 inches on one side, a 2-inch base, and 18 inches on the other for 40...
Like 40 inches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 39 inches. It's just insane. It is, and it's a bummer, and there's nothing you can do about it because the 30k psychic phase is dumb, and I hate it, and no one likes it, and you're a bad person, Tristan. I talk about this a lot in therapy. I don't get mad about it anymore. I know that this happens. Magnus exists, and he adds 2d6 to the strength of things.
Tristan's like, it was so much fun. I'm like, until you lost all your friends and had to move to Montreal.
Yeah, you get out of here, Tristan. Yeah.
Worthies.
Yeah, you got into business school right at the right time. I'm giving out his address on this podcast. Podcast. Jeez.
So we're done 30k?
We're done 30k. Let's go right into 40k. So
Great.
40k fluff wise, they finally struck back at the Space Wolves through the help of the Changeling. They also got the Dark Angels involved to attack the Space Wolves, and they did something like super shitty, which I loved, where they made sure that demons were summoned anywhere that the 13th Legion went. So people were like, you know, the Wolfen, they were like, oh, these guys are totally, like, demonically possessed. And it's like, no, it's just... Magnus was like, demons everywhere they go.
Nice.
Like,
nice
so...
trick.
It's just so rude. But also the Changeling was aboard the Dark Angels ship, like, pretending to be a Space Marine, just being like, we should totally kill those guys. And everyone was like, you're right.
Cool.
So, anyways, like, a Wolf Lord ends up dying. Most of the population of Fenris is destroyed or sterilized. The Grey Knights intervene, and if you know your Space Wolves fluff, they don't get along because the Grey Knights are very extreme, and the Space Wolves are all about your personal freedoms and your long cool beards. So yeah, that's Magnus basically has crippled the Space Wolves homeworld, and he's like, that's pretty cool. And is it in that book that the Planet of the Sorcerers kind of moves into real space? Yeah, so through the jigs and reels he manages to get that done. So now the Thousand Suns and Magnus are back on the scene. When he finds out that Gilliman has woken up, he starts chasing down Gilliman. Ahriman also chases down Gilliman and runs into him at the same time that he's talking to... Oh, what's the Anari lady's name? Yvraine. And, like, they sort of, like, attack, and Yvraine does the cruelest thing, like, you could do. She reanimates... Like, the Inari, like, kind of possess an innate understanding of life and death, and, like, can kind of manipulate that, and that's why they were tasked with helping Gilliman, like, back to life. But she reanimates a bunch of Thousand Sons in front of Ahriman, so from dust, she makes, like, living men with memories again. They're like, oh my god, Ahriman, what's going on? And then she obliterates them in front of him, and he's like... What? Like, you can do that and it doesn't even bother you? And so she's like, yeah, that's pretty much the meanest thing I could have ever done to you. And, like, so he's beside himself. And since that point, that's his quest, is to, like, master this power.
So Ahriman has set his sights on Comorga.
Yeah.
Comorga.
Komora.
There's a G in there.
Yeah, but
Gamora?
Komora.
Gamora?
It rhymes with Gamora. Get it?
Because what's Gamora?
It's one of the cities destroyed by God's wrath.
Oh, yeah.
So
Sodom and Gamora, yeah.
Also a character in Guardians of the Galaxy.
that's
Gamora?
Gamora.
Sounds the same.
Yeah, but...
Did we just go over this?
Potato, you say Gamora.
No one says
I say-
potato.
No one says tomato.
It's true.
No, wait, tomato is the one.
British do.
But anyways,
They also
so
say vitamin.
that's what Ahriman's up to. Just blowing past that.
They also say schedule.
You guys are really making this hard. So that's where Ahriman's quest now has brought him. He wants nothing more than to, like, figure out how to reverse the rubric, because he does feel that this is a giant failing on his part. Because, you know, his brothers are now mummies sealed in armor. I guess they're more golems than mummies. Magnus also gets thrown into the webway, back into the webway, and so he was sort of locked in there. No one's quite sure where he is. He pops up later, but there's not, like, a huge amount of fluff in the 8th edition codex about where they are post, like the waking up of Gilliman.
Yeah, I think they're like leaning on those books they released just before 8th edition.
Yeah, and they did a lot of work. There is, like, a cool story about, like, it's just one of those little exemplary battle sort of things, where it's a bunch of Ogrins on a world, and they, like, find this beast that is, what's the warp beast called?
The Mutalith?
Yeah, the Mutalith. Essentially, it's described as a Mutalith, and, like, it's an Ogrin ab-human world, and they're like, oh, we need to hunt this thing down. And then they do, and then they, like, cut it open, and they're compelled by this, like, sack on its back, and they, like, cut it open, and it's just this, like, weird pulsing thing, and they're like, oh, we gotta bring this back to the tribe, because it's good. And then, like, the Imperial Guard, like, regiment that usually gets Ogrins from this world swings by, and, like, the entire planet is just chaos spawn. And they're like, ugh, gross.
Shouldn't have done that.
Friggin' nuke it from orbit.
What's up, Marco? In the chat.
Marco's my guy. Yeah, so that's sort of what's been happening. Is there anything besides Ahriman chasing him down, Magnus in the webway, and just weird Mutalith stuff?
That's
I
great.
don't think so.
We're at 45 minutes of fluff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Big.
Well, and 30k rolls.
Yeah. So what? You know what?
Fair enough.
The fluff exists. Hit me up in person, and I'll tell you more.
So, shall we jump to the 8th edition codex?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Favorite new units. What do we think?
New units?
Or sorry, favorite units or new units.
I gotta say, I'm gonna be bad, and I'm just gonna go straight Rubric Marines.
I agree. They're so cool.
Yeah. So, excuse me. They're basically Chaos Space Marines right across the board, stat wise.
Yep.
But they have a great special rule, which is one of the most innovative and characterful rules that they have put out, which is if a weapon is 1 damage, it now at the Thousand Suns.
You want me to read the rule?
Yeah,
They get +1 save. if
They get
it's
plus
only
1 save
damage.
if it's just 1 damage. Oh my god!
And they have a 5 of invuln save,
Yeah,
which is bumped to a 4 up for their Legion special rule.
which is bumped to a 3 up for. Oh wait, no, never mind.
That's 30k.
Yeah.
You're getting confused.
Well,
There are
I didn't know that we were covering the 30k rules.
There are psychic powers.
Yeah.
Also, they all have mastercrafted bolters. No, Sternguard bolters.
30 inches.
Well, no, sorry. They're just rapid fire 1 with -2 AP bolters.
Yeah, -2 AP.
Negative 2 AP is still huge.
It's so
Yeah.
good. It's so good.
Yeah, I just really like the Rubric Marines. The new kit looks beautiful.
Oh, it does, doesn't it?
They can also, it's also a slow and purposeful sort of rule where they can move and fire heavy weapons without penalty.
There's no downside to it.
Yeah.
Knows what it's
And
called?
there's a sorcerer in the squad
Mhm.
who actually knows a spell now.
What spell does he know?
We'll get to psychic powers in a bit.
But he gets smite and he gets a psychic power.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, the Rubric Marines, I think, while they're not huge in competitive play, I think they are really just rad, and I like seeing them.
Yeah.
So my favorite new unit is the Mutilith Vortex Beast, which we were talking about a bit, just because it brings back some of the randomness.
You know that some GW exec was like, "We have so many of these Vortex Beast kits. How do we sell them?" I was like, "Put them in Thousand Suns Army."
So these are kind
So
of
random.
beast guys. They're like basically dreadnoughts. They have a 5 of invuln save, dreadnought stats, 14 wounds. They regain a wound at the beginning of their turn. If they have so what the cool thing is they have an ability called Warp Vortex, and if they have half or less wounds, so 7 or less wounds remaining, you double the range on these abilities I'm about to read.
Yeah, so they get a little bit harder, but they get more dangerous.
So if you roll a 1 at the start of your shooting phase, each enemy unit within 9 inches, doubled if you're less than 7 wounds, suffers a mortal wound. Each enemy unit. Add +1 to a friendly unit. Reroll failed charges for a friendly unit.
+1 to hit.
+1 to hit.
Yeah.
Fight first in the fight phase. Reduce someone's leadership by 1. And roll 3d6 for each wound of a 4 up. The closest unit suffers a mortal wound. So
Yeah,
pretty cool.
they're pretty cool. And I like that you can go random or you can choose. And if you choose, you get 1. If you go random, you get 2.
Ooh, I didn't read that.
Yeah. If you go random, you get to roll twice.
I would definitely do that every time.
Yeah, why not? Because they're all good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you want them like surrounded by friendly units, so you could buff friendly units, but you also want them in a it's a great little thing there.
Yeah, and they're not half bad in combat. They're not amazing in combat, but you're not sad if they're there. You know, so you don't mind getting them in close.
Yeah, and then another honorable mention for actually new model kits are the sorcerers on the discs.
Yeah, they're
Really, really cool models.
also the Sengors.
I don't want to talk about them.
I really like them.
Well, because when we told John Tongue that we were going to be doing this, because John Tongue's our resident Thousand Suns player now that Tristan lives in French Canada.
Are good Thousand Suns player.
Yes. He said, "Oh, you mean Codex buy a whole bunch of Age of Sigmar stuff and play it in 40k?"
Yeah,
Because
Sengors.
the new unit is Sangors, which is weird because they all have bolt pistols.
Yeah, man, they're
Yeah.
friggin' strapped.
Yeah.
Ain't no shame in going out heated.
and they designed this codex. We might as well talk about them because they designed this codex in a way that to be competitive with it, you pretty much have to use them because they're your horde. They're what lets you get board control. They're what lets you. They're just cheap units for a bunch of bodies, and there's multiple ways to buff them that just make them really nasty.
Yep.
They're basically orc boys.
There's 7 points a model.
How much is the cultist?
4.
Okay.
I would pay 3 points a model to give a cultist a 5 of invulnerable save.
Yeah.
Yeah, huge, and their strength tough is 4, right? They're orc boys.
With a 5 up
invulnerable
invulnerable
Five
save.
vulnerable, which is nasty.
They're so good.
Sengors.
Sangors. So those are cool. Not a lot of units, and a lot of it is stolen from the Chaos Codex. Another issue with Thousand Suns right now is I think as it stands, just because of some weird rules that are written, they can't use a lot of forgeable stuff, which kind of hurts.
Oh, really? Like just the way that it...
Same with Death Guard. Just like, yeah.
Huh.
Because it says a Heretic Astartes. Yeah, and these guys have their own weird things. I might have that wrong.
Yeah,
But,
that's okay.
Yeah, just wondering. What's next on our list of things to go down?
Warlord traits.
Best one is reduce all damage suffered by your warlord by 1 to a minimum of 1.
Do you think so?
Actually, no, there's better ones.
See, I really like Otherworldly Presence. So that's the one that Ahriman comes with right at the gate. That's his mandatory one. And it's just +1 to invulnerable saves.
To a max of 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Knowing an additional psychic power
Pretty good.
doesn't mean you can cast one. It just means you have a little bit more flexibility in what you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think that that's a good warlord trait, simply because the stratagem of Chaos Familiar,
That's true.
where it's just like, I'll swap one out.
There you go.
Like it
Neat thinking.
just seems like a waste of a warlord trait.
Yeah. I like High Magister +1 to your psychic tests.
Yeah.
So roll up, especially when you're going for those high power smites, or a lot of your psychic powers on the change table are really high casting rolls. So they're tough to pull off, so you're going to need those bonuses if you're not bringing Magnus. So there you go. Any other notable warlord traits you guys want to go over? Or you just
No, I
want
think
to
that's it.
Alright.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's... do we talk about the Aether Stride?
No, not yet.
Yeah, it's a cool one. You're basically walking through reality. But Advance and Charge is... You can charge after you advance, and you also get to re-roll your charge.
That's not bad on a Demon Prince.
That's really good
Totally
on a Demon
right.
Prince.
Yeah.
That's what you take. Like, if you're doing a Demon Prince, you take that on him. It's that or the +1 involved.
Yeah, wings plus advance, nasty.
plus reroll charge.
And reroll charge.
Yeah.
So-
really nasty.
So they might as well just call that Warlord trait first turn charge. Like,
Yep. Well, there's some weird stuff because like the only one of the bummer is I don't think you can actually get
Warp time,
Dark Hereticus Disciplines in here,
which is where warp time is.
which is where warp time is. So let's actually look at the codex because we're doing this live, people. We're actually looking at the codex right now. We don't do research before our podcasts.
Not true. I read a whole document. But sometimes new combinations come on the fly,
yeah.
and so the pot is brewing.
Yeah, so the Demon Princes do have access from Dark Hereticus Discipline. So you could technically move 12, advance,
Yep.
cast Warp Time, move, advance,
Yep.
and then charge and reroll your charge.
Nasty, right?
Also, Demon Princes of Tzeentch can they know 2 psychic powers as opposed to regular ones, which know 1.
They
That's pretty
should.
cool. Yeah,
yeah,
makes sense to me.
fluffy, nice little feature. I wonder if they pay points for that. Who knows? They probably shouldn't in the context of that codex because everything's expensive already.
Yeah, this is a very elite army.
Yeah.
They do, but I don't think it's that much because they're 170 base.
Okay.
They're an elite army, but they have options like built right in to mitigate that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
cultists, Sangors.
yeah, Zangor's changed the game for them entirely.
Sangor.
Zang.
Sangor.
Zing. Okay. Next, stratagems.
Stratagem. I mean, Chaos Familiar is the one that you're gonna see a ton.
And Webway Infiltration.
Yeah.
So what do those do, guys?
Well, Chaos Familiar lets you just swap out a psychic power. So
Cool.
you change one, and it doesn't have to be the same discipline. It just has to be one that you have access to.
Yeah.
It's in the Chaos Codex, but it's really, really good.
Well, because Tzeentch Psychers have access to 18 different psychic powers. 19 if you include Smite. So that mechanic is really useful.
Yeah.
That's like huge. For one command point, they're like, oh wait, that guy has a 2-up invulnerable save. Death Hex.
The other one that I really like is Vengeance for Prospero. So you use it in the fighting phase, and Death to the False Emperor against Space Wolves triggers on +4.
What?
Yeah,
It's
so
+4?
4 up, yeah.
4 plus.
4 plus.
Oh. I'm like, +4 is a 2 up.
Yeah. No. It triggers on 4s and up.
That's totally different than +4.
You're right,
Yeah.
and that's why I corrected myself.
So they have a neat version of the orbital bombardment, which is 3 command points. It's called Coruscating Beam, and you just draw a 9-inch line that's in your line of sight, and any unit you touch takes D3 mortal wounds on a 4 plus.
I like that way.
It's way better than orbital bombardment.
so much better.
There's a really cool one for 1 command point called the Flesh Change. So if you remember back to I don't know, an hour ago, we were talking about the Flesh Change being a thing, how they're susceptible to mutation. And this, you kill a Thousand Sons character, and then you put a Chaos Spawn into play, which is hilarious if you've got a character down to 1 wound, or a character that's about to get pasted by a Dread Knight, or some nonsense.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, so I don't know, just get a full wound Chaos Spawn.
My favorite stratagem is Warp Flame Gargoyles.
Talk about it.
So, this is really good. You can't use it on a Hellbrute or a Helldrake. Stop dropping your phone. That's the 3rd time. You're going to break it.
I won't.
So basically, the hulls of vehicles are swollen with demonic power, and they spit fire on people.
Rude.
So use this stratagem at the start of any fight phase. Pick a Thousand Sons vehicle from your army, which could also be something like, I don't know, a Mastodon.
Come on, Nick.
You're not going to see too many of those rolling around.
Stop trying to break the game.
Roll a d6 for each unit, friend or foe, within 3 inches of it. I wonder if that actually includes the vehicle itself. It would.
It would, as per the way that every bubble works.
Yeah. Subtracting 2 from the roll if the unit being rolled for is a character or a vehicle. On a 4 plus, the unit being rolled for suffers D3 mortal wounds. That's
Sweet.
1 command point.
Yeah, so it's kind of like rolling around with a gargantuan squigoth if you do it on a Mastodon, because the gargantuan squigoth does that for every unit that it's after it charges. It's within 1 inch.
It does D6 mortal wounds. This is just at the start of a fight phase. So if you've got a guy who you just charge a rhino into a dude and then pop this, and you're like, hey, I did 3 wounds to that squad of Terminators.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah, love it.
I just like that it gives units that normally don't have a big threat range a little bit more.
Yeah.
Do we want to move on to relics real quick?
I was just going to say
not
Webway
quite.
Infiltration.
Yeah, there's some cool ones.
Because Webway Infiltration is basically you can set up a Thousand Sons infantry unit in Deep Strike instead of placing it on the battlefield.
Yeah. So 1 command point for 1 unit, 3 command points for 2 units on this one.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Especially when you got those Stern Guard bolters dropping in. Right? Just drop a unit of 10 rubrics. They're
Right.
across the battlefield. They get the first strike. They get to do what they do before anybody else does.
Rude.
Yeah. I like Kabbalistic Focus, 1 command point for +2 to your psychic test. So you really need to get that big smite off, or you need to get that, what's it called? A Doom Bolt, which is Warp Charge 9, really hard to get off. Now it makes it a Warp Charge 7 for you. If you have a Relic, it could be Warp Charge 6, essentially, which is really cool. We'll talk about what Doom Bolt does later. Or you combine that with Great Sorcerer, 1 command point, and just keep casting spells. You get to do 1 more psychic power, which is really cool.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, so relics, they have the same thing as the Necron one that Paul loves. What's it called?
Oh, the Veil of Darkness?
Yeah, it's the exact same thing.
Yeah, I saw that one, and I was like, ooh, I'm going to talk about that. And I was like, no, I've already done this.
So it's called a Dark Matter Crystal. Pull a unit off the board and redeploy them in Deep Strike, essentially.
Yeah,
I really like this one.
But it's important to note that any unit that's pulled out of combat this way doesn't count as having fallen back.
Yes. That's super good. The Helm of the Third Eye is super troll-tastic.
Blink, blink, blink.
If your army's battle forged and the wearer is on the battlefield, roll a d6 each time your opponent uses a stratagem. On a 5+, you get a command point.
That one's a little specific because, like, I don't know, some armies don't have a lot of command points.
I wouldn't care.
But if you're going up against the guard, they're strategizing on you all day long.
True.
The one I like, which is also pretty situational, is the Seer's Bane. So it replaces a force sword or a power sword, and it's a force sword that when you target people with leadership 9 or higher, it doubles your strength.
Or a psyker.
Or a psyker. So
It's like a power fist against psychers without the -1.
without the -1, and also Exalted Sorcerers have the ability to take 2 swords instead of the staff sword combo. And now you can just do 1 sword, 1 Seer's Bane. So you're just like chopping stuff up all day long. Again, situational, but it is a cool nod back to the way that particular 30k unit rolls out.
Yeah, that's true.
Double swords, baby! Dritz Doerden in the house. Dritz? Drizzt.
There's also a cool one that's, again, situational, but if you roll doubles while making a psychic test, your opponent can't attempt to deny the witch.
Super cool.
Yeah?
What's that called?
The Athenian Scrolls.
Bam. Use
Yeah,
it.
again, pretty situational, but pretty handy.
This is the knowledge contained in the Anatheum of Kalikimachus.
Just in case you were wondering.
Kalikimaka is the way to say, hey Mary. Isn't that the song for, like, saying Merry Christmas in the Hawaiian way?
Yeah, Kalikimaka.
Hello, Kalikimaka is the way we say.
So psychic powers, quickly.
Yeah, let's do it.
Funny
I didn't
one.
look at any psychic powers. I totally forgot.
You forgot psychic powers. You talking about thousands.
No,
Horrible person.
I'm not good.
There's one that's Warp Charge 6. Select a unit within 18 inches until the start of your next psychic phase. You improve that unit's invulnerable save by 1 to a
So
maximum
good.
of 3.
So good.
Yeah, especially it's the unit. So like on a unit of Sangors,
Yep.
so good.
Now they have a 4 up. Choose a unit within 18 inches. Warp Charge 7. Roll 9 dice. The enemy unit you selected suffers a mortal wound for each roll of a 6.
Yeah. Now, you, on average, are only getting 1,
Yep.
maybe 2.
Well, on average, you're getting 1.5, but
Yeah. But yeah, because that can't happen.
Yeah.
So
Psychic power
that's why I said it the way I said it.
to make a unit have -1 to hit.
It's
Pretty
so
good.
good. That's amazing.
And Doom Bolt.
what's Doombolt do?
18 inches. Warp Charge 9. You pick. It's not closest. The unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, and their move and characteristic is halved, and they cannot advance.
Which is, it's so good. The trick is the Warp Charge 9, which
Yes.
is why you take the Warlord trait, which is
Grand Magister or something.
Yeah, High Magister for +1. If you're Magnus, then you're casting it on 7s because he's +2 to his psychic test. But it's so powerful when you get it off.
So they have the Dark Heretic as discipline as well. And then they have a discipline of Zinch. And this is my favorite power. It's basically a free command point. It's Warp Charge 6, and you can just reroll a single dice during that turn.
Sweet. There you go.
That's it. That's it. Nothing there.
But it's nice that exists because you can also command point 1 dice. You know, like
Yeah, exactly. Bolt of Change is pretty cool, although they kind of nerfed it in the FAQ. So Bolt of Change, Warp Charge value 9, select an enemy unit within 18 inches. D3 mortal wounds. If a character is slain, you can add a Chaos Spawn to your army.
hilarious.
You have to pay reinforcement points for it.
Oh, okay. The thing about the
So
flesh
you're
change,
never doing it.
No.
the flesh change, you stratagem, you don't have to pay reinforcement points.
Flickering Flames is a Warp Charge value of 5. Pick a friendly Zinch demon unit. That includes things like
Arma,
Arma's not a demon.
he's got demon keyword.
Does he?
If he's on that spinny disc.
Okay. But I was thinking Forge Fiend, Defiler, Hellbrute, Helldrake.
The demon thing we were just talking about, the Mutalith.
Yeah,
Vortex
Mutalith.
Beast.
So you add +1 to wound rolls for shooting weapons.
Oh, just the shooting weapons? So
Just
you want
the
to do
shooting.
that on, like, flamers.
Yeah.
Oh no, flamers.
Yeah.
And then the best one, Infernal Gateway. It's kind of like Psychic Maelstrom. So warp charge value of 8. Identify... This is a weird wording. If manifested, identify the nearest enemy model that is within 12 inches of the Psyker.
Enemy model, not unit.
True. Oh, yeah. So the model's unit and every other unit, friend or foe, within 3 inches of that model suffers D3 mortal wounds. And the number of mortal wounds inflicted is D6 if the power is manifested with a psychic test of 12+.
Whoa. Also 12 plus.
It's
Like,
it's hard.
it's hard, but not impossible in this codex.
Yeah, with +1 to cast. Or if you're Magnus, +2.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird that they would say nearest model when the nearest model realistically is the nearest unit.
But there is a possibility for it to be the nearest model and it affect a different unit.
Yes. It has to be the nearest model. But it's interesting because that means if someone did something stupid and put their sergeant out front.
He gets zapped. Or if there's an independent character that's just out, like it, or there's like a unit nearby.
It's an offensive one.
Yeah, so it spreads.
That model gets hit. Okay, yeah.
So it's basically a blast template.
Yeah, right.
Except-
They want you to be able to catch people.
Yeah. Aha!
Because you get to move and essentially choose the closest model at that point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Within a limited range.
Yeah.
So yeah, is that Thousand Suns?
It is. They're tactical objectives, which are always kind of cool. I like them. I really
Okay.
like the flavorful ones.
Sure, go for it.
Get your rocks off, Nick.
D3 victory points if you destroy an enemy unit in the psychic phase.
Yeah, do what your body wants.
That's D3 points.
It's huge.
That's huge in
Huge,
Maelstrom.
huge.
And you're
Yeah.
gonna get it. But I mean, you also have to draw it, so.
So keep a tally of number of psychic powers you resolve during the psychic phase. At the end of the first turn in which you successfully resolve at least 2 psychic powers, score 1 victory point for every 2 psychic powers successfully resolved, up to a maximum of 6 victory points. So if
Go
you
to hell.
if you get this and you resolve 12 psychic powers in a turn, which is totally possible because you have access to 18 different psychic disciplines and
Plus
smite,
which you can cast multiple times.
which would be 12, which would be 6 victory points for 1 tactical objective.
That's dumb. That's dumb.
It's a domination that is actually possible.
You have to really try to get that off, though.
Someone had a good question here. Are obliterators demons? Because the +1 to wound for shooting attacks on obliterators
I
would be
don't think
amazing.
obliterators are available 1,000 cents,
Ah, that'd be an interesting point.
but we can check that.
Yeah, we can.
And also, you can just drop them in because it doesn't say it has to be the same faction.
It's Zinch Demon.
Ba, 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 ba.
Yeah, I don't know about that because they'd have to be
They
in,
could still be obliterators with the mark of Zinch
But
in
they
a
couldn't-
different detachment.
but they couldn't be 1,000 Suns, so they couldn't use that stratagem because they have to be.
No, the psychic power from Zinch.
Oh yeah,
The +1 to wound.
Interesting.
They couldn't shoot twice, which is way better
Yes,
when you take them as Slanesh.
because you can just give them Veterans of the Long War anyways, which gives them +1 to
+1
wound.
to wound.
Yeah.
Could you give them +2 to wound?
Yeah, I don't know.
If they're Zinch with Veterans of the Long War?
Can we figure this out a different time?
Yeah.
Like,
Paul wants to go home.
no, it's just like dumb. Like, hey, what if?
It's the last thing Paul needs is for Magnus to get better.
Yeah. What if Superman had a kryptonite hat? It's like, no, we don't care. Okay.
That would be bad for Superman.
Yeah, well, you know,
Do you mean like an anti-kryptonite hat?
no,
What do we got for fun time today, guys?
I don't know, man.
I know what we have.
You know, kryptonite was invented by the Superman radio show. It wasn't invented by comic book writers.
Interesting.
Yep.
Well, I mean, Superman needs a weakness. He's
Well-
a shitty hero to begin with.
Here's the thing: the Superman actor needed some time off, so they invented a thing that made him silent.
Was that really drunk actor?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The guy who, yeah. Anyways,
So quote unquote needed some time off.
yeah, needed some time off, if you know what I mean.
Well, we do have a fun time. We're going to talk about some updates of things coming up soon.
Other space Egyptians.
That's it.
We'll be back.
See you in a minute.
Time.
This is going to be really brief because Paul's really tired.
Yep. Daylight savings messed me up.
Well, what's it saving us from? It's not in the bank, man.
From
The
daylight.
Martians.
Saving us from
no.
daylight.
Also the Germans and the Japanese, according to propaganda posters I saw recently.
Old propaganda posters that you saw recently. Okay. Not ones that are currently saving us from Japanese.
Yeah, not current propaganda.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Not like War of 1812 propaganda posters.
No.
I don't care.
That came out yesterday.
I got some problems. But anyways.
So 2 new codexes are coming out soon, and the Xenos are finally getting some love.
Xenos rising, baby!
Yeah, we hinted at it last week when we reviewed the new Forgebane box set.
Yeah. They all
Well-
hate each other as much as they hate the Imperium now, so it's all good.
So you wanna take us off for a little ride?
Go first? Alright, cool. So Warhammer Community's been putting out a bunch of stuff about the Tau and the Necrons, to be explicit about what we're talking about.
Hells yeah.
So Forgebane being the box set that includes the Adeptus Mechanicus and the Necrons. That both have new units, which is really cool. But I will be focusing on the Tau to start, which are not in that box.
No.
So, Viorla. They're pretty cool. They're apparently the most iconic Tau Empire. They're what's on all the box art. They're the white and the... Yeah.
Who's their leader? Is that Shadow Sun?
I don't know, baby.
It used to be the original home of Farsight,
Okay.
but he's doing his own thing now. Yeah. Anyways, they're kind of chapter tactic, if you will. They're called Seps. It's called Strike Fast, and so they can advance and shoot all their rapid fire weapons as assault weapons, which is kind of neat.
And everything can, because they're not Space Marines, so it's not limited to unit types.
Exactly.
Which is so good, because that's tanks, too.
Yes.
I'm really angry. Not really angry. I wish it were different, because it makes no sense that chapter tactics don't affect vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
If you can give me a convincing reason why they don't, I would love to hear it.
Well, Eldar is the best example. It's like, why does the dude who's being operated from a magical gem that holds his soul have chapter tactics, but my pilot and that Rhino doesn't?
Because tanks aren't people.
Right.
But some tanks are people.
Human tanks are people.
Yeah, but like...
Wait, are we splitting hairs again?
Yeah.
But there's people inside the tanks driving them that should know how to do things.
But they're not people.
Are you saying the guns don't kill people, tanks kill people?
Tanks do kill people. That's
Yeah.
what they're meant for.
That's...
But the people driving the tanks don't kill people.
Yes, they do too. They both do.
Both are culpable.
Yeah. It's not one then the other.
So then, Warhammer Community specifically highlights a cool stratagem where a battlesuit commander within 18 inch can pick an enemy unit within 18 inches of it, and they're -1 to hit. So you can kind of advance your commander suit up, rapid fire a bunch with your guns that aren't rapid fire anymore, and have some fun with that.
Hit a unit of Hellblasters and make them all overcharge and kill themselves.
That's it,
Yep.
exactly. And then they have a Sept specific stratagem, which is 2 command points, and you can pick a Sept unit and shoot again. But they have to target the closest unit, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting little restriction on the shoot twice stratagem.
How so powerful.
Yeah. And actually, this is only an infantry unit.
Okay.
So they're toning it down a little bit.
I'm interested to see like the keywords on battlesuits, like battlesuits are infantry or not.
That will be the big winner.
I doubt that.
Well,
I
their
think
crisis suits are infantry, aren't they?
I don't know.
No, it can't be.
Yeah. Do you have Xenos?
I do somewhere.
So Paul, what are you talking about?
Mine's gonna be really quick, and we're talking about the new Cryptech that everyone's been seeing. So by now,
So cool, by the way.
I like them. By now, you've probably seen the rules for them, but if you haven't, He's got a canoptic cloak. So it's like a little... He's riding a scarab, basically. And what this does is gives him an extra 5 inches of movement. So now he's moving 10 inches. So he's going to be able to keep up with pretty much anything. Or, like, bip around and just do his shenanigans. And his thing is...
He's fly.
He has fly, which is really good. And he... living metal within 3 inches of him, the rule changes. So instead of giving back 1 wound, it gives back D3 wounds a turn.
And what things have living metal?
Every character.
Yep.
The monolith. Any vehicle. Pretty much it.
So, like, Wraiths don't have it?
No.
Okay.
Wraiths don't have it, but they... yeah, so he wouldn't be buffing those guys.
But he can heal himself D3 wounds.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's going to be really mean to have him parked next to, let's say, the Tesseract Arc from Forge World. Just getting back D3 wounds every turn.
So I think, as always, the trick to Necrons is don't leave anything alive at the end of your shooting phase.
Yeah, you
have to kill things to drop them. Because you can't rely on degrading them or, like, it's only got 1 model left. That unit's neutered. No, it's not. The ball's rolling those reanimation protocols.
Yeah, and it is disheartening to see... Well, no, it's not disheartening. It's great to see a new player go up against Necrons. Because they're like, what's happening? You're like, I'm sorry it's like this. But then playing against, like, an experienced player and Necrons, you're like, this every shooting phase is gonna suck.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting that it sucks in a different way than normal shooting phases where a bunch of stuff dies. It's just like, alright, he's gonna pick something and just blow it off the map.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited for these codexes to come out.
Yep.
It'll be nice to see some, like I said, some Xenos getting some love that isn't Eldar, because Eldar get too much love.
Eldar are doing fine.
Yeah, they don't need help.
Yeah.
They got the cool models and the cool rules to boot.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so anyways, that's our fun time. That's our episode.
I hope you liked it.
Yeah.
Was it fun?
If anyone is wondering where to go and get some beer, Henderson's. They give us some beer, so you should get some too.
Yeah, Paul and I don't need credit cards to start a tab there anymore.
Don't tell them that you're Nick and Paul, though. How many listeners you got? I don't know. How much money you make? Get the f*** out of here with your bad questions.